Hello, it's John Heaton, and today I thought I'd pay tribute to the late great Charlie Watts, who passed away a couple of days ago, aged 80. It's almost as if one never expected the Stones to die. I mean, they were all going to die eventually, but it was a shock when it came. Didn't know he was ill, and just last year for COVID, they did a kind of four-way Zoom call where they recorded You Can't Always Get What You Want, so I'll probably go back and rewatch that. I've been re-listening to a lot of Stones albums in the last 48 hours. The whole of Some Girls, Emotional Rescue, Sticky Fingers, Exile on Main Street, about half of Let It Bleed, and a couple of singles, and also about half of Between the Buttons as well. And just one is struck by how appropriate Charlie's drumming was to every track, and how he was the perfect drummer for the Stones, and no more, no less than what was required for the song. And I noticed, he's the master of different rhythms. For example, on Beast of Burden, he's playing a kind of syncopated beat, and on Miss You, he easily masters that sort of disco four in a bar beat, and countless other examples. I think if you had to ask me some of my highlights of his drumming, I love the drumming on Wild Horses, particularly when it comes in after the slide guitar solo. I love Tumbling Dice, probably my favourite Charlie Watts drum track, although he may have had help from someone else on that track, I can't remember, but it's superb. And the whole of Exile, really, he kills it with the drums. Rocks Off in particular, I was playing loud the other day. Let It Loose, just superb. And Gimme Shelter, the way he comes in with that dun dun, and then after that superb build up, it's just perfect. A few amusing stories of Charlie over the years. First of all, I had the pleasure of bumping into him at Exeter St David's railway station in 1983 or 4, can't remember. I was down at university there, and he was queuing up, dressed in a full-length light brown overcoat, very smart. I've seen him in a couple of pictures with that, similar overcoat. And he was buying a ticket to London, and I just recognised him and went, "Charlie!" And he went, "Yeah, hello." And he didn't seem particularly pleased to be recognised. This was during his midlife crisis period, I think, 83 to 85, 6. And then when he'd bought his ticket, as he was going through to the platform, I just stuck out this scrap of paper. It's all I had, really. I said, "Could you sign this?" And he just literally scribbled something unrecognisable, this Charlie Watts or CW, just literally a scribble, and just stormed off to the platform, whatever it was, for London. So that was my brief encounter with Charlie. I've always found him the most self-effacing member of the Stones, no trace of any ego. And I watched a few interviews of him when he's saying, "I love playing live, but to play live I have to leave home, which I hate." And then, so it's a vicious circle. But he says when he comes home from a tour, he wants to quit every time. And then after a couple of weeks of hanging around the house, his wife says, "When are you going back to work?" So he kind of needed to be occupied with. So I think he views, obviously, the Stones as his job, and without it, he seemed a bit bereft, or couldn't quite occupy his time as successfully with other pursuits. So, having said that, I didn't think the Stones would ever stay together until Charlie died, or one of them died, although Brian Jones did obviously die in the 60s. So, as I've said on many videos, I think they outstayed their welcome. I think they should have split many, many years ago, but, I don't blame them for staying together. Financially, it was obviously very lucrative. But personally, my main Stones interest is up until and including To You, 1981, with a few exceptions since. There was a very interesting video, which is no longer in print, made in 1989, celebrating the 25 years of the Stones. It's called 25 by 5, And in that, there's the famous quote when Charlie's asked, "Can you sum up 25 years with the Rolling Stones?" And he goes, "5 years work, 20 years hanging around." Because at the time he was hanging around on a video set waiting for to be called. Videos take ages, and you have to shoot different scenes, and maybe Charlie wasn't in every scene, so he did a lot of hanging around for that. So I thought that was an amusing remark. And there's the famous story when in Amsterdam in 1984 when Mick phoned up Charlie at 1 o'clock in the morning, I think it was, and says, "Where's my drummer?" And Charlie, I'm not sure if he was in bed or what, but he stormed over to Mick's room, punched him in the face and said, don't you dare call me my drummer again, you're my effing singer," which I thought was a good comeback. So I think Charlie is a delightful personality from what I can gather from interviews. As I say, not promoting his own agenda, very deeply into jazz music, which he pursued as well throughout his life. And he said the only reason he joined the Stones is because he didn't think he was quite good enough to make it in jazz. And then he said the result of joining the Stones was 40 years of watching Mick Jagger's bum from behind wiggling around in front of me, which I thought was, again, quite an amusing remark. Quite a few interviews of him on YouTube if you want to check them out over the years. And rest in peace Charlie Watts, great drummer. Thanks for watching.